ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We are now studying Sri Ramakrishna in Bhava Mukha. Yesterday we dealt about the important aspect that anybody can withstand any amount of difficulty or any adversaries in life if you have deep faith in God. I will repeat the words of the Master. Sri Ramakrishna told, but do you know, those who take refuge in him do not sink to the bottom even on account of this unbearable grief. They regain their balance after a few tossings. Persons of small capacity, like small vessels, lose their control, their balance altogether and go down. Haven't you noticed the plight of the small fishing boats when steamers pass through Ganga? It looks as if they are lost and are gone. Some are capsized altogether. The bigger vessels, carrying tons of load, regain their balance after a few tossings. But a toss or two must be felt by all. After a short pause of serious gloom, Sri Ramakrishna added, how few are the days during which the relationship among all these sons, husband, wife, parents, etc., all these relationship, how few are the days during which the relationship among all these in this world lasts. Desiring happiness, a man enters the world. Desiring happiness, the man enters the world. He marries, he begets a son or a child, girl. The son, the daughter grows. He gets his children married. Thus, a few days pass pleasantly. Then one gets ill, another dies, still another goes astray, and the man is besides himself with worries, anxieties. The more the frustration, the louder the lamentation. Haven't you noticed how the wet fuel burns in a sweetmeats oven? It burns well at first. Then, as it is burning, the sap begins to ooze out through its hinder part and assumes a form of froth which bubbles and bursts and produces various kinds of hissing sounds. It is just like that. I think the latest modern people with gas stove, electric stove cannot understand this. We have seen it in olden days. The mothers used to use the firewood for cooking, for all the purposes. So it's that time, whatever Sri Ramakrishna is telling, we used to watch that phenomena. So if the firewood is dry completely, then no problem. But sometimes we will get the firewood which is wet. So in the beginning, it burns properly. All that wet portion, the liquid goes and get collected at the end of the firewood, and then it starts coming out as Sri Ramakrishna has explained here. Haven't you noticed how the wet fuel burns in the sweet maker's oven? So that firewood, that wet portion or the liquid portion in the firewood will start coming to the back. It burns well at first. Then as it is burning, the sap begins to froth, which bubbles and bursts and produces various kinds of hissing sounds. It is just like that. He was thus consoling Manamohan by speaking to him on varieties of topics such as the transitoriness and hollowness of the world, taking refuge in the divine Lord, the only source of happiness, and so on. Now Manmohan felt consoled and said, now after all these things, now Manmohan was full of grief. Now his grief gone away. He started telling to all the other people, now do you know, this was why, sir, I came running to you. I knew that there was no one else who could assuage this fire of my grief other than you. So nobody could, other than you, assuage my grief. So how nicely Sri Ramakrishna knew to handle the mind, to raise the consciousness. So you can see Ramakrishna is the real master of psychology. You can see how he is working through the mind. First, he didn't go on to advise, telling that this world is transitory, that and this. But how nicely he understood his mind. He became one with him, one with the sorrow himself, explaining about his own sorrow, how he felt when his elder brother Ram Kumar's son Akshay Kumar died, the way he felt, why Divine Mother made him to feel that sorrow, so that Ramakrishna could understand the feeling and pain of other people who would come to him. That is the reason why Divine Mother Kali made him undergo all these pains so that he can understand and feel and remove the pain of all the other people who used to come to him. Then we have to note how Sri Ramakrishna is talking to that person. Master added, this is also a very important aspect we have to note. How few are the days during which all these relationship among all these, that is husband, wife, father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, all these relationship, how few days will this last in this world? Desiring happiness, a man enters the world, he marries, he begets a son, the son grows, he gets his son married, thus a few days pass pleasantly, then one gets ill, another dies, still another goes away astray, and the man is besides himself with worries and anxieties. The more the frustration, the louder the lamentation. Haven't you noticed how the wet fuel burns in a sweet maker's oven? It burns well at first. Then, as it is burning, the sap begins to ooze out through its hinder part and assumes the form of froth, which bubbles and bursts and produces various kinds of hissing sounds. It is just like that. He was thus consoling Manimohan by speaking to him on a variety of topics such as the transitoriness and hollowness of the world, taking refuge in the divine Lord. So, what is the remedy for all these things? Why should we take refuge in the Lord? Because that is the only remedy. There may be so many other temporary remedies, but the only And the highest remedy is, which now Sri Ramakrishna is telling, taking refuge in the Divine Lord is the only source of happiness. Why should we take, why should that be the important way by which you can overcome your pain or all these bondages? Because the Lord God who is present within your own heart is the only source of happiness. All other happiness, all other joys, everything, it comes out of the Lord who is the only source of happiness. So you have to stress your mind, you have to repeatedly give it to your mind. Taking refuge in the Divine Lord is the long lasting and the final solution to all the problems. Why? Because he is the only source of happiness. And so on. Mani Mohan felt consoled and said, "This was why, sir, I came running to you. I knew that there was no one else who could assuage this fire of my grief." We were amazed at this extraordinary behavior of Sri Ramakrishna and thought, is this the person whom we considered a short time ago to be hard hearted and indifferent? So, Shardanandaji Maharaj is commenting about Sri Ramakrishna. All this time we thought that Sri Ramakrishna was indifferent to the feeling, to the pain of this person. Is this the person whom we considered a short time ago to be hard hearted and indifferent? One who is really great is not like the common run of people, even in small matters. One who is really great is not like the common run of people, even in small matters. I remember now another incident similar to this in the life of Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi. I had read about that, but I couldn't feel anything special about it. But when I heard it from none other than an American lady called Mary Louise Burke, she used to come to Belur Mutt every winter. She was quite old at that time. The American lady who had done lot of research going all around America to find out material pertaining to Swami Vivekananda. Then she brought out, after so much of research, 6 volumes, very big volumes, not ordinary small volumes, 6 big volumes of new discoveries of Swami Vivekananda in America. And that is the reason why the complete works of Vivekananda, which had only 8 volumes, now has become 9 volumes. Because so many things were taken out, culled out from that. And one more volume of Swami Vivekananda's teachings increased. It went to the 9 volume because she had done extensive research from the life of Swami Vivekananda in America, went about everywhere. Finally, the outcome was she bought out 6 volumes of Swami Vivekananda's new discoveries. That woman used to come, Mary Louise Burke. She was something like 75 or 80 at that time. We were in training center in Belur Mutt. That was in 91, 92, then 92, 93. Sorry, it was not 91, 92 to 94. So both the years I have seen her coming in the winter, especially the Western people, they cannot bear the heat of India. So they come during winter because the weather is manageable. So she had come, she was asked to, 1 year she was asked to speak in the public function. And that too during because Holy Mother Sharda Devi's birthday falls during December, January, that period. So it is winter. She was there. She was asked to speak on Holy Mother. She was the main speaker on that day. We were all eagerly listening. What would this American lady, who has done extensive research on Swami Vivekananda, speak about Sharda Devi? She told so many things, but all that I have forgotten. But this one incident on Holy Mother's life, the incidents of Holy Mother's life, I cannot forget. She takes up the incidents of life of Buddha. In that, one lady comes with her small child dead, asking Buddha to give life to the child. And Buddha tells, okay, you go to different part of the town, you beg from the house, you can bring, if you can bring one fist of mustard seed from the house, then I can give back the life. But the condition is you should bring the mustard seed from the house where no death has occurred. She was very happy. She went. Very easy solution, just a fist of mustard seed, begging the mustard seed from the house where there is no death. She went to all the houses of the town, tried and tried and tried. Every house, all people were very eager to give her one fist of mustard when she told that her son can get the life from it. But the moment she used to utter the condition that there should have not happened even a single case of death in that house, everybody used to tell recently this person died, some years back that person died, the grandfather died, the grandmother died, my young child died, my daughter died, granddaughter died. Every house, wherever you go, there was the dance of the death. Not one house bereft of death. Everywhere, pain, death, she could see. Then she could understand. Yes, this is imminent. It has to happen. So now can you see the words of Master in the end? He gave that advice only in the end. How few are the days during which the relationship among all these sons, parents, etc. in this world lasts. Desiring happiness, a man enters this world, he marries, begets a son, the son grows, he gets his son married, thus a few days pass pleasantly, then one gets ill, another dies, still another goes astray, and the man is besides himself with worries and anxieties. The more the frustration, the louder the lamentation. Everywhere it is full of sorrows. Nowhere can you find a person telling, boldly keeping his hand on the chest, thumping it and telling, I had no death in my family. I had no suffering in my family. I am the happiest person until unless he has completely realized God or he has intense faith in God. This thing cannot happen at the ordinary level. So what happens here after telling these incidents? That lady came back to Buddha and she told, I don't want that the child should come back. Let the events of life happen as it is to happen. Then she went back. That is one of the life incidences in the life of Buddha. Then after that, when the same situation happened, Mary Louise Burke told these incidents, and then she compared with the life of Holy Mother Sharda Devi and told that a similar thing happened in the life of Holy Mother Sharda Devi. And how did Holy Mother Sharda Devi handle this situation? A lady came, she was grief stricken, her only son had died, and she was lamenting, crying. She was rolling on the ground and crying incessantly. So she came to Holy Mother, she wept, cried, she lamented, she was shouting in pain because her only son had died. Then what did Holy Mother do? Mary Louise Burke is asking. Did she ask that lady to go to different house to beg a fistful of mustard seed? No. But on the contrary, she came down to the lady. She sat with the lady, just like the village lady. Here is Mother Saraswati, avatar of Mother Saraswati, whom Ramakrishna used to call Tini Sharada. She has come down to distribute Gyan Vitarite, to distribute the knowledge to this world. She has come down. Tini Sharada, she is Saraswati. She has come down to this world to distribute knowledge to all the people. And that Sharada, like a ordinary village woman, came to the level of that lady who was crying and lamenting because due to the loss of the son, she sat with her and she too started crying. She too started weeping and lamenting with that lady. And she cried, she wept to such an extent that all people there thought that the son of Holy Mother Sharda Devi has passed away. And she is crying for her son. That was the extent of grief that Mother Sharda Devi suffered at that time. She cried, she lamented, she shared the pain of that lady. She sat with her. She too cried. And what did she do? She absorbed all the pain of that lady for herself. And she cried. Then it so happened, seeing the weeping, seeing the pain of Holy Mother, that woman who had really lost a son and was lamenting, forgot her own suffering. Then she started consoling Holy Mother Sharda Devi. Holy Mother Sharda Devi absorbed all the pain of that lady, sat with her. She started crying. She took that pain of that lady and started lamenting and crying in such a way. The other ladies who really lost the son and was suffering, that pain went away. And that same lady started consoling Holy Mother Sharda Devi to come out of the pain. So that was the way by which this grand couple, they look very ordinary. No external manifestations of power and knowledge. But see the way they absorb the pain of the whole world on themselves, identifying themselves with all the suffering of all the people. I've told you a number of times. I like to tell that again and again. Ramakrishna used to weep every day in the evening as soon as the conch bells and the conch and the bells and the other things started ringing for the evening arati and the sun was setting. Today another day has gone and I have not realized God. So Ramakrishna used to fall on the bank of Ganga and weep and lament. And Vivekananda used to cry, "Oh, my countrymen, people of India, poor people of India, suffering so much. I cannot help my countrymen. All the Indians are in poverty and suffering. So what am I doing?" So Vivekananda used to cry. And why would Holy Mother cry? She was in Jairambati. She was weeping bitterly. When somebody asked her, "Why are you crying, Mother?" Oh, Sri Ramakrishna had told that I had to do a lot of work. I had to take away the sins of so many people coming to me. And I have to liberate them, lift them up from this quagmire of worldliness. But today, nobody has come for me to help them or receive their sins and liberate them. None of them has come. As the words of Sri Ramakrishna gone false, nobody has come. I couldn't receive their sins. I couldn't receive their sufferings. And that is the reason why Holy Mother Sharda Devi is crying. Can you imagine the extent of compassion. Can you understand what compassion is? She's crying that she couldn't take the sins of the people and liberate them, and for that reason, she's crying bitterly. Can you imagine? And now, Mary Louise Burke is explaining the American lady. We couldn't think. I had read that incidents, but I couldn't feel that, because it is the woman who can understand the heart of the woman. The motherly heart can be understood by another mother. What can we, the so-called men, understand that? So Mary Louise Burke, when she was explaining that on that day, on the birthday of Holy Mother in Belur Math, I was shocked. Yes, see what is the compassion of Holy Mother. She came down to the level of that lady, cried with her, absorbed all the pain on herself. And she started feeling that pain to such an extent. It is not drama, it is not feeling, it is not acting, it is real. Holy Mother Sharda Devi absorbed the pain of that lady, and she started crying and lamenting to such an extent that the lady who had really lost the child had to console her. Her sorrow is gone. Had to console the Sharda Devi who was lamenting so much. So now you can understand what was the way by which this grand couple and their great child Swami Vivekananda, how they felt for the common mass, for the people, for the poor, for the suffering, how much they felt. Ramakrishna also used to tell, Swami Vivekananda also used to tell, until unless there is even one dog, one little living creature on this earth, until it knows that is one with God and gets liberated, or even if a dog is dying out of hunger, I will come again and again, I will take rebirth, I will come again and again to this earth to remove that hunger of the dog or to give liberation to that animal. These were the statements of Swami Vivekananda, of Sri Ramakrishna. And when Ramakrishna Paramahamsa asked Swami Vivekananda, what is your highest goal in life? Vivekananda told that my highest goal is I should be always immersed in samadhi, the highest yogic realization, immersed in God, that is samadhi, always merged in God. I should be in samadhi. Once in a while, maybe once in a week, I should come out of that samadhi just to take little food and keep this body alive, do some activities of this body so that the body can be alive, again to merge in samadhi and stay in samadhi weeks together. That is my highest aim. Yes, anybody would be very happy to be immersed in samadhi. But when Ramakrishna heard from his greatest of the disciple what is his highest aim, Ramakrishna scolded him. Mean, what a mean-minded person you are. Hina buddhi. What a small-minded person you are. I thought you, Vivekananda, would be like a very big Vatavriksha, like a big banyan tree, under whose shade thousands of birds, thousands of animals will get shade, fruit. Will there be the branches of the tree will be helping them to make houses? I thought you would become like a big banyan tree, giving shelter, fruits, and everything succor to so many thousands of beings. And you are thinking of your own liberation. You're so selfish. You're so mean-minded. Can you imagine? These were the words of Sri Ramakrishna. Can you feel the magnanimity? What more manifestation of power do you want for you to understand he's an avatar? The Guru is chiding Vivekananda. What a mean-mindedness, just seeking your own liberation. I thought you would be giving shelter, you would be helping thousands of living beings. You becoming like a big banyan tree, giving shelter in your branches and under your branches to so many people. So then Sri Ramakrishna tells there is a higher state than samadhi. There is a higher state than samadhi. And what is that? Sri Ramakrishna tells that than this highest yogic experience of samadhi, there is a higher state than this. Have you read in any of the scriptures? No scriptures gives us that there is a higher state than this. And Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is telling one of the best disciples of his Swami Vivekananda. And what is that? You'll be surprised to hear that there is a higher state than samadhi. Yoga tells the highest state is samadhi. Upanishad tells the higher state is this Surya Avastha Samadhi. Everything tells, all the scriptures tells that the highest state in yoga, spiritual life is samadhi. But here, one of the greatest of avatara, Sri Ramakrishna, is telling his chief disciple, there is still higher state than samadhi. What is that? Narendra was yearning for God. It was evening. Narendra was sitting in a room downstairs. And he was describing to Master Mahashay the yearning of his soul to realize God and be merged in samadhi. No one else was there with him. Narendra started telling to Master Mahashay, I was meditating here last Saturday. Once when suddenly I felt a peculiar sensation in my heart. Then Master Mahashay asked him, oh, it was the awakening of the Kundalini. To which Narendra replied, probably it was clearly perceived that Ida and Pingala nerves. I asked Hazra to feel my chest. Yesterday I saw him, meaning Sri Ramakrishna, upstairs and told him about it. I said to him, all the others have had their realization. Please give me some. All have succeeded. Shall I alone remain unsatisfied? So then Mahendranath Gupta, that is Yam, Master Mahashay, told, what did Sri Ramakrishna tell to you when you asked him for that? What is Narendra asking Sri Ramakrishna? He told him about that Kundalini awakening and told, yesterday I saw Sri Ramakrishna upstairs and told him about it. I said to him, all the other disciples of yours, many of them, had their realization. Please give me some. All have succeeded. Shall I alone remain unsatisfied? Then Master Mahashayam was very eager to ask what happened. What did Sri Ramakrishna tell? To which Narendra replied, he told, Sri Ramakrishna said, why don't you settle your family affairs first? You have your grieving mother, your father has passed away, you have so many siblings, your sisters and brothers to look after. Why don't you settle your family affairs first and then come to me? You will get everything. What do you want? I replied, it is my desire. So when Ramakrishna asked him, what do you want? It is my desire to remain absorbed in samadhi continuously for 3 or 4 days. Only once in a while coming down to sense plane to eat a little food to maintain this body. Thereupon, Sri Ramakrishna told me, you are a very small-minded person. You are a very mean-minded person, Hina Buddhi. There is a higher state. Even there is a higher state even than this samadhi. And what is that? All that exists are thou. All that exists are thou. What are the higher dictums of Vedanta? Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. And what is the other statement of Vedanta, highest dictum? What is Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya? Lord alone is true, all else is untrue. What is the other dictum? Jiva Brahmaiva Naparaha. All the living beings are verily the manifestation of God, and there is no higher God than this. All the living beings, Jiva, Brahma, Eva, all the living beings are veritable manifestation of God. Na paraha, there is no higher manifestation of God than living beings. This is the highest statement of Vedanta. And now Ramakrishna is reminding Narendra, telling that, are you not the person telling about that in your song? Always you will be singing that song and you don't mean it at all. All that exists are thou. It is you, Narendra. You sing that song and you don't grasp that meaning at all. Master Mahashay told, yes, he always says that after coming down from Samadhi. After Sri Ramakrishna comes down from Samadhi, he always tells that all that exists are thou. So one sees that it is God himself who has become this universe. After coming down from Samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna used to tell again and again, and he used to perceive and tell that one sees that it is God himself who has become this universe, the living beings, and all that exist. The Ishvara Kotis alone can attain that state. An ordinary man can at the most attain Samadhi, but he cannot come down from that state. Narendra, to which told, he, Sri Ramakrishna said, settle your family affairs and then come to me. You will attain that higher state. You can attain a higher state than Samadhi. I went home this morning. My people scolded me, saying, why do you wander about like a vagabond? Your law examination is near at hand, and you are not paying any attention to your studies. You wander about aimlessly. To which Master Mahashay asked him, did your mother say anything? Narendra replied, no, she was very eager to feed me. She gave me venison. I ate a little, though I did feel like eating more. And then what happened? Master Mahashay asked him. Narendra told, I went to my study at my grandmother's house. As I tried to read, I was seized with a great fear, as if studying were a terrible thing. My heart struggled within me. I burst into tears. I never wept so bitterly in my life. I left my books and ran away. I ran along the streets. My shoes slipped from my feet. I didn't know where. I ran past a haystack and got hay all over me. I kept on running along the road to Kashipur. Narendra remained silent a few minutes and then resumed. Then Narendra tells, since reading the Viveka Chudamani, I have felt, which the on Tuesdays I am doing that Chris Jewel of Discrimination, the text, manual text of Vedanta. I am discussing that text. Swami Vivekananda is telling, I am reading the Viveka Chudamani. I have felt very much depressed. In it, Shankaracharya says that only through great tapasya and good fortune does one acquire these three things: a human birth, the desire for liberation, and refuge with a great soul. Durlabam trayame vaitat daivanugraha hetukam manushyatvam mumukshatvam mahapurusha samshrayah. So reading that verse, Vivekananda is telling, what is the simple meaning of that? Vivekananda himself is telling, Shankaracharya says that only through great tapasya, due to hard austerities and so much of punya, these three things one acquires. And what is that? A human birth, a desire for liberation, and refuge with a great soul, with a liberated soul. And I said to myself, I have surely gained all these three as a result of great tapasya. I have been born a human being. Through great tapasya, again, I have the desire for liberation, and through great tapasya, I have secured the companionship of such a great soul, Sri Ramakrishna, the greatest of avatara. So Master Mahashay told, what vairagya, what dispassion, his intense dispassion. Narendra then continued, I have no more taste for the world. I do not relish the company of those who live in the world, of course. With the exception of one or two devotees, Narendra became silent again. A fire of intense renunciation was burning within him. His soul was restless for the vision of God. He resumed the conversation. Narendra to Master Mahashay, you have found peace, but my soul is restless. You are blessed indeed. Master did not reply but sat in silence. He said to himself, Sri Ramakrishna said that one must pant and pine for God, only then one may have the vision of Him. Immediately after dusk, Master Mahashay went upstairs. He found Sri Ramakrishna asleep. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening. Niranjan and Shishi were there near the master. He was awake. Even every now and then he talked about Narendra. Master is telling how wonderful Narendra's state of mind is. You see this very Narendra did not believe in the form of God, and now you see how his mind is panting for God. You know that story of that man who asked the Guru how God could be realized. The Guru said to him, come with me, I shall show you one day how you can realize God. Saying this, he took the disciple to the lake and held his head under the water. After a short time, he released the disciple and asked him, how did you feel? Then the disciple told, I was dying for a breath of air. And said the disciple, now Ramakrishna giving this example is telling when the soul longs and yearns for God like that, when you will know that you do not have, when you will know that you do not have long to wait for his vision. The rosy color on the eastern horizon shows that the sun will soon rise. This day, Sri Ramakrishna's illness was worse in spite of much suffering. He said many things about Narendra, though mostly by means of signs. At night, Narendra left for Dakshineshwar. It was very dark. Being the night of the new moon, he was accompanied by one or two devotees. Master Mahashay spent the night at Kashipur garden. He dreamt that he was seated in the assembly of sannyasins. So all this is given in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So there you can find that Sri Ramakrishna telling Narendra there is a higher state than Samadhi, the highest which is given in Vedanta. And what is that? Seeing God in all the living beings. God only has manifested in all the living beings. Seeing God in all the living beings and serving them, not just seeing and enjoying that scene. No. Seeing God in all the living beings and serving them with devotion, serving all the living beings, seeing God in them is higher than Samadhi. That is Vijnanavastha. This is Gnana, having the knowledge of Parabrahman, that is Samadhi. But Ramakrishna is telling there is a higher state than Samadhi, Gnana Avastha, that is Vijnana Avastha. What is that Vijnana Avastha? Seeing God in all the living beings and serving them is Vijnana Avastha. So now you have this opportunity. It may be very difficult for you to, for all of us to reach that state of Samadhi. But all of us have the opportunity. Ramakrishna has given that essence. You need not go to Samadhi. You need not attain Samadhi. But you can see God. It is in your hand now. It has been made to be got at your own hands now, which you can do it. Seeing God, seeing Parabrahma Swarupa, manifestation. Jiva Brahmaiva Naparaha, the highest dictum of Vedanta. All the living beings are nothing but manifestation of God. So if you can start serving all the living beings, start philanthropy or charity begins at home. Start in your own home. See that manifestation of God in your own father, mother, in your own children, in your own brother, sister, in your own wife, in your own husband, in your own grandmother, in your own grandfather. Then the neighbors, all the people, the poor people, the destitutes, the orphans, everywhere God exists, manifested for you. We go to the temple, the dead stone or matter, the images, we forcibly feed the Naivedyam and do all those things while the Lord Himself has come. That is also necessary. I'm not denying that puja and other things are wrong. No, to get this knowledge, that is necessary. So, while the Lord Himself has manifested in the form of your father, mother, brother, sister, wife, husband, you neglect that. When the Lord Himself has come to your house in the form of your children, you don't see God in them and serve them. You ill treat them. You scold them. You use all the hard words. And where is it going? Directly going to God. You're ill treating the Lord Himself manifested in the form of the human beings, and you want spirituality and you want samadhi. So Ramakrishna is told there is a higher state than samadhi, the higher state than the highest of yoga, the knowledge merged in God. What is that? He's telling Swami Vivekananda, seeing God in all the living beings and serving them is the higher state than samadhi. That is called Vijnana Avastha. And that has been given as a dictum. When he went to deep samadhi and coming down, he told, Seva, not Seva. Daya, it's not Daya. Who are you to show Daya to living beings, to all the living beings? Daya noi, Seva. It's not Daya, it is not sympathy, but empathy. It's not Daya, it is Seva. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, seeing Lord Shiva, seeing Lord Narayana, seeing Lord Divine Mother in all the living beings and serving them. That is Seva, real Seva, and that is Vijnana Avastha, seeing God in all the living beings and serving them. The Lord Himself will come in search of you. That is higher than Vijnana, that is higher than the Gnana, the Samadhi. So Ramakrishna has shown that. That's why the realization of Sri Ramakrishna. Now can you see why Ramakrishna is the greatest of avatars? He has brought down that truth, highest truth. He has told. Vedanta has not shown this. No text scriptures have shown you this, that there is another higher state than Samadhi. Seeing God in every living beings and serving them, that is Vijnana Avastha, that is higher than Samadhi. Sri Ramakrishna is telling Narendra and inducing him. And you have that opportunity, having read the principles, whether you accept Ramakrishna as avatar or a saint or an ordinary man, that is secondary. That is not important. Swami Vivekananda used to tell. Follow his teachings, principles, the ideals which you stand for. You will reach the highest. You yourself will become God. Then you yourself will know who Ramakrishna is. Need not for us to beat our chest and tell Sri Ramakrishna is avatar. Not necessary. Take his principles. Take the ideal. Take the teachings. Follow it in your life. And you see what the result. And then you yourself will come to know who Sri Ramakrishna is, whether he's a saint, whether he's an ordinary man, whether he's an avatara, whether he's the greatest of avatara, whether he's the ordinary avatara. That is secondary. Let us not worry about our head, all those things. Whether he will be born again after 200 years or 150 years. Now he has given so wonderful teachings, the highest than Samadhi. Seeing God in every living being, start serving, which is higher than Samadhi. The opportunity is given to work, to be in the present, to be mindful, to be having the awareness, to live in the present. Ramakrishna has given the opportunity every second, every moment. See God in all the living manifestation of all the living beings and serve. Nothing is needed. Nothing in life is needed. You will make this living place itself more than Vaikunta, more than heaven, more than Kailasa, more than Deviloka. Seeing God in every living being around you. Start serving. Higher than Samadhi has been given to you by Sri Ramakrishna, has brought down. What more do you want? So, Mother Sharda Devi, you can see, she would come down, absorb all that pain of the living beings, and she used to suffer. And Mary Louise showed that greatness of Holy Mother, how she could absorb the pain of all the others. Holy Mother used to tell, if anybody comes to you, just told us, all the monks, all the Ramakrishna devotees, what has she told? Anybody coming to you with pain in heart, with suffering, the first thing you have to do is feed them nicely. Feed them nicely, full stomach. Then that will reduce half of their pain. After that, give them whatever Vedanta or whatever teachings of Sri Ramakrishna or Mother Sharda Devi or anything. Then console them. Here, then you have to hear their sufferings. Another half of their problem will be gone. Then talk some sweet words. That's more than enough. Feed them nicely. Give them something. These are all the practical tips which Sri Mother Sharda Devi has shown us. If you can follow, you can make this whole earth a heaven, a Vaikuntha or Kailasa. So Ramakrishna is showing by his behavior how when that person with great pain in heart came there, he didn't tell just Vedanta and push him away, shoo him away. Oh, death is common. No. How did Sri Ramakrishna feel the pain? How did he come to his level, absorb his pain? And then after his mind was raised to a higher state, then he started telling about the transitoriness of the world. So I also gave you that wonderful example of Mother Sharda Devi's life incidents. It's so beautiful how Mother came down to the level of that lady, absorbed all her pain. Then the lady had to console Mother Sharda Devi. That is heart of the mother. That is universal motherhood. You can see Ramakrishna used to tell, have brought down Mother Sharda Devi to this earth to show what is universal motherhood. Vishwamatrutva. She never had any child, but she is the mother of the universe. But still, she has to manifest the ideal of Vishwamatrutva, universal motherhood. She never had any children, but all the people, all the living beings were her children. All gods and goddesses were her children. She used to see children, or even in all the gods and goddesses, she used to look after. She used to look after Mother Sharda Devi, even Ramakrishna as her child, not her husband, as her child. So that is universal motherhood. What is that Vijnana Avastha? Seeing God in every living being and serving them. So that is the highest than Samadhi, which Sri Ramakrishna has told and Vivekananda practiced it. Mother was in that state always, practicing it evergreen. That was Holy Mother who has shown us, in spite of all the difficulties, in spite of all the problems in family, how you can practice that highest teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, the highest dictum of Vedanta made practical, as told by Swami Vivekananda, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. We were amazed at this extraordinary behavior of Sri Ramakrishna and thought, is this the person whom we considered a short time ago to be hard-hearted and indifferent? One who is really great is not like the common run of the people, even in small matters. He didn't just push it away as small matters. Somebody has come grieving, just go and grieve. He didn't tell. How did he handle the situation? His greatness, the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna is discernible in every action, great or small. Do you want a weapon? Do you want a flute or a discus or Gada? The Gadadhara Vishnu, who Avatara is Sri Ramakrishna, should we be holding a Gada always? Can't you see this greatness? Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling the greatness is discernible in every action of Sri Ramakrishna. The greatness of Sri Ramakrishna can be felt in every action, great or small. Is this the same person whose heart beat stopped a little while ago as he was experiencing ecstasy or the nearness of God? Is he the same person who, in sympathy with Mani Mohan's condition, is behaving like an ordinary man, coming down to his level, sharing his pain? He could have altogether dismissed the words of that old man, saying, it is all mere delusion and trifling matter, go away. Did he do that? No. He came down to his level, absorbed his pain, felt that pain, and how did he assuage his feeling? He could have altogether dismissed. He was a Vedantin. The words of that old man saying, it is all mere delusion, a trifling matter, so get away from me. You are worldly. You should not have attachment to your son. Did he tell that? No. It is not that he could have not done so. He could have done it. Had he displayed his greatness that way, We would have felt that he might be a great spiritual teacher or anything else, but that he was certainly not of this world. We would have felt that he had not the power to enter into the feeling of ordinary mortals, and would have said, we wonder how he could have remained indifferent to the play of Maya if he had fallen, but once into the helpless condition into which we, weak human beings, have fallen, owing to our attachment to our own wives, father, mother, and children. The very next moment, perhaps, a young man comes in a dejected mood and asks, Sir, how can one be freed from lust, karma, passions, and unhealthy emotions? Disturb the mind sometimes and make me restless in spite of me. Another person comes with another problem. So many different types of problem. People will come and Ramakrishna had to handle that. Sri Ramakrishna said, Ah, lust does not vanish till God is realized. Ramakrishna is telling it's not so easy to remove the lust, kama, passion, intense desire, kama. Lust cannot cupid. Lust does not vanish till God is realized. Complete lust can be destroyed only after realization of God. The same thing is told in Bhagavad Gita. Parandraštva nivartate. Lord Krishna is telling. Niraharasya dehnaha. Rasavarjam rasopyasya. Parandraštva nivartate. In that verse, Lord Krishna is telling, only when you see God can this lust go away. And Ramakrishna is repeating, Ah, lust does not vanish, kama does not go away, cupid does not go away till God is realized. So long as the body lasts, so long as this body lasts, a little of it continues even after the realization. But then it cannot raise its head and disturb you. Do you think I myself am altogether free from it? At one time, I thought I had conquered lust. Sri Ramakrishna is telling about himself. At one time, I thought I had conquered lust. When I was sitting under the Panchavati, such an onrush of lust came that it seemed to be beyond my power of control. I then wept, rubbing my face against the dust on the ground, and said to Mother, I have done a great wrong, Mother, by feeling egoistic that I have conquered lust. I have done a great wrong, Mother. I shall never again harbor the idea that I have conquered lust. It was then only that it vanished. When you tell, I have conquered, then ego comes. When ego comes, then all the other things will come and hang to that ego and trouble you. So you have to rely, surrender at the feet of the Lord. Remove your ego. I shall then, I shall never again harbor the idea that I have conquered lust. So it was then only that it vanished. Do you know, you people are now passing through a high tide of youth, hot-blooded, adolescent period. This is why you cannot stop it. When a high tide comes, does it heed an embankment? It then swells up, breaks the embankment, and rushes forward. Then water stands as high as a bamboo over the paddy field. But it is said that a mental sin, but it is said that a mental sin is no sin in the Kali Yuga. So much of assuring words of Sri Ramakrishna. Note this, please note this. Sri Ramakrishna is telling, do not worry. It is said that in this Kali Yuga, in other yugas, yes, it was a sin. But in this Kali Yuga, it is said that mental sin, sin performed in the mind, a mental sin, is no sin in the Kali Yuga. Again, even if an undesirable feeling happened to rise once or twice in the mind, why should you feel worried? Do not feel worried about it because of it. Then how does he advise that person to overcome that feeling? Suppose once or two that such bad thoughts come to your mind. How can you overcome that? He tells it is natural to the body. It sometimes comes and goes. Pay no more heed to it than to the bodily functions like the call of nature. Just like you will have the urge to go to the urination, you will have the urge to go to excrete, you will have the natural sweating in your body, and some other things. So many waste material will be put out of the body. So these are all things natural. Do you worry about all those things? Will you go and cry that, oh, I have so much of excreta in my intestine, small intestine and large intestine? Do you go and cry that, oh, there is so much of urine in the bladder? Do you go and cry that there is so much of sweat in this body, in the sweat glands? No, those are all natural things like that. These bad thoughts and other things crop up, come to your mind. Do not give much credence to that. Think of God. Forget about that. If you too much think on that, it is like meditation and it becomes deeper. Ignore them. Instead, think of positive thing, that is God. Then these things will go away. So what a wonderful piece of advice Sri Ramakrishna is giving, a practical advice, how to overcome all these bad feelings and lust and other things. So practical advice. What a beautiful thing Sri Ramakrishna is giving. All these things is to be the practical way Sri Ramakrishna is teaching to overcome all the bad thoughts. Is there any person coming to such a level and helping people to come out of it? Many people had asked me how to overcome addiction. You told that Sri Ramakrishna was expert in de-addiction. See, here all those, not all those practical things. How he's coming down to our level and helping all the youths, all the people, the adolescent people in whom there will be onrush of all these thoughts. How can you overcome? So I will read it again, which will be very helpful. All these things have to be noted. It will be very helpful for sadhana. He's telling that you people, you are youths, you will have this feeling coming up. It's hot blood, young, adolescent. Do you know, you people, youths, are now passing through a high tide of youth. That is why you cannot stop it. When a high tide comes, does it heed an embankment? Whether you put a dam, whether you put an embankment, when there is high tide coming like a tsunami, can anybody stop it? It then swells up, breaks the embankment and rushes forward. Then water stands as high as a bamboo over the paddy field. But it is said that a mental sin, so all those thoughts will come rushing and disturb you. But it is said Ramakrishna is assuaging the feeling, helping the people who are getting that thoughts. They want to overcome that. They want to progress forward in spiritual life. How shall I handle these bad thoughts? All these bad ideas which are coming in my mind, the cupid, the lust and other things, other bad thoughts, how shall I handle it? So Ramakrishna is neutralizing them by this wonderful teaching. He's telling that, do not worry. It is said that the mental sin is no sin in the Kali Yuga. I'll repeat it again. Note it, please note it. The wonderful teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. Don't have that feeling of guilt in your mind. That is the worst enemy. Don't have that feeling of guilt. Don't have the feeling of self-pity. Do not harbor the idea that I'm weak, I'm a sinner, I'm having all these weaknesses, all the bad thoughts come to me. Give up that idea of guilt. That guilt will kill you. On the contrary, instead of those negative thoughts, concentrate on the positive thoughts. What is that Sri Ramakrishna is telling? Note all these things. These are very helpful. Write it down in your diary. Etch it down in your heart. Sri Ramakrishna is telling, it is said that a mental sin is no sin in this Kali Yuga. Again, even if an undesirable feeling happens to rise, if these bad thoughts come to your mind once or twice in the mind, why should you feel worried because of it? Do not feel worried. What a wonderful feeling of consolation by none other than the greatest father, the motherly figure, Sri Ramakrishna is telling. Is it not so much assuaging, consoling? Ramakrishna himself is telling, the greatest Godhead, Narayana, Vishnu, Gadadhara Vishnu, the Avatara is telling, why should you feel worried about all those bad thoughts? Again, even if an undesirable feeling happens to rise once or twice in the mind, Why should you feel worried because of it? It is natural to the body. It sometimes comes and goes. So what is to be done? Pay no more heed to it. Pay no more heed to it than to the bodily functions, like the call of the nature. As I told, will you be worried that you urinate every day? Will you be worried that every day you excrete? Will you be worried you will be sweating every day? So much of dirt is going out of your body. Will you go on thinking, oh my God, so much of excreta is there in my intestine? Oh my God, how much of urine is there in the bladder? How much of sweat is in my body? Will you be worrying? Just like that. These things are natural. It comes and goes. This is a human function. So in the same way, think of those thoughts which rise in you, the bad thoughts, the lustful thoughts, the cupid, whatever that thought comes, one or two thoughts may come. Forget about it, ignore about it. But instead, concentrate on the positive thoughts. Think of God. Think of the positive things. As Swami Vivekananda is telling, the remedy for weakness is not to brood over weakness, but to think of strength. If you brood over them, you'll be meditating and it becomes more deeper. Those qualities, those thoughts will come deeper. So, what a wonderful practical way Sri Ramakrishna is giving. He is telling that forget about it, ignore about it. Just like the other bodily functions, the call of the nature and other things. So, why should you feel worried about because of it? Again, even if an undesirable feeling happens to rise once or twice in the mind, why should you feel worried about because of it? It is natural to the body. It sometimes comes and goes. Pay no more heed to it than to the bodily functions like the calls of the nature. Do people feel worried because of such functions? Similarly, consider these feelings to be very trifling. Similarly, consider these feelings to be very trifling, of any attention, unworthy of any attentions, and do not think of them anymore. Moreover, pray to the Lord, pray to Him heartily, pray to the Lord heartily. Repeat continuously the name of Hari. Repeat continuously the name of Hari and meditate on Him. Repeat continuously, pray to the Lord. Repeat the name of the Lord continuously and meditate on Him. Do not take notice whether they come or go. Do not take notice of all those thoughts which whether they come or go. Instead, meditate on the Lord. Take the name of the Lord continuously, heartily. They will slowly come under control. All those thoughts, all those bad feelings, they will slowly come under control. Sri Ramakrishna had become, as it were, a youth speaking to a youth. So Ramakrishna came down to the level of the youth. He became a youth and gave so practical advice to that youth. When the old man came with the grief, Sri Ramakrishna became that old man grieving because of the loss of son, absorbed his feeling, gave him the right thing there. When the youth comes here, Sri Ramakrishna comes down to the level of the youth. He became a youth himself. And then what a wonderful piece of advice he is giving. It's applicable to all of us. What a practical way. Can you find it coming down to our level? Anyway, anybody teaching in this manner, so much of feeling of calmness I myself am getting, then what would be to the other people? So Ramakrishna is telling, do not worry, think of God, pray to the Lord heartily, repeat continuously the name of Hari and meditate on the Lord. Do not take notice whether these bad thoughts and other things come or go. They will slowly come under control. The master had become, as it were, a youth speaking to a youth. Anybody coming to him, Sri Ramakrishna would come down to their level, remove their pain, help them. In this connection, we remember Swami Yogananda, who was amongst the very few whom we knew to have conquered lust. Note it again, Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, in this connection, we remember Swami Yogananda. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to call him the incarnation of Arjuna. Yogananda was in his last life Arjuna. So many direct disciples who used to come to Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna used to tell them, Swami Brahmananda was the chum or friend, playmate, the close friend of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, the cowherd friend, who is now born as Swami Brahmananda Rakhal Chandra Ghosh. What is meant by Rakhal? How could the mother name him Rakhal? What is Rakhal? The cowherd friend of Krishna is called Rakhal. And in this life too, he has got the name Rakhal Chandra Ghosh, the cowherd friend of Sri Krishna. So, Swami Vijnananandaji was, Ramakrishna used to tell, the in his last life, Jambavanta. He comes in Ramayana, he comes in Mahabharata too, Jambavan. So now Swami Yogananda, who was amongst the very few in his last life, he was Arjuna. Ramakrishna used to mention. Swami Yogananda was amongst the very few of the direct disciples whom we knew to have conquered lust, Cupid. One day he asked Sri Ramakrishna this very question at Dakshineshwar. He was then very young, about 14 or 15 years of age. Swami Yogananda was then very young. He was of the age of 14 or 15 years of age, and he has been visiting Sri Ramakrishna for a short time. A Hatha Yogi named Narayana, a Hatha Yogi. You know what is meant by Hatha Yoga? The yoga abhyasa which we do. Asanas, different varieties of asanas which we do. Surya Namaskar, Tadasana, Vrikshasana, so many other asanas, different, are done to control this every muscle, every tendon, every part of our body to take control. Then you master over that body. That is called Hatha Yoga. The other yoga, Patanjali Maharshi Yoga, is still higher than that. Hatha Yoga is a part of that where you tell in the Patanjali Maharshi's yoga as asanas. That is the one. So here this person was a Hatha Yogi, controlling the body just for the sake of health, controlling every part, every muscle, every tendon of your body. That is Hatha Yoga. It is not anything connected with spiritual life. That is only health, controlling every part of your body. That is Hatha Yoga. So a Hatha Yogi named Narayana was then living in a hut near Panchavati and was attracting some people's curiosity by showing them the arts of Neti, Dhauti. So putting your nose in this nostril, bringing out in this nostril, putting the water and bringing your water through the mouth. So they are called Jalaneti. And if you put a cloth, that will be another Neti. Then Dhauti, put all that piece of cloth which is sterilized with hot water into the stomach and gargle it. That is another Dhauti. Then there are so many other different things. They're called Neti, Dhauti. To swallow gradually a wet piece of cloth, 10 or 15 cubit long and about an inch broad, and then to pull and bring it out is what is called Neti, and to drink 2 or 3 seers of water and to vomit it out, that is what is known as Dhauti. To draw water through the other portions of the body, bring it out again, is called Dhauti. Hatha Yoga is thus force out all the phlegmatic humor and such other things existing within the body. They say this prevents diseases and makes the body firm. So that is all the Neti and Dhauti. Yogin said that it was also one of those people. Yogin said that he was also one of those people. On seeing those performances of that Hatha Yogi, thought that lust could not vanish and God could not be realized until that Hatha Yoga, all these yogas, different other asanas were conquered, were practiced. Unless we practice that, we cannot conquer lust, we cannot realize God. Yogananda also thought about it in his age of 14 and 15. He therefore hoped, when putting the question, that the master Sri Ramakrishna would instruct him on some postures like this, Hatha Yoga postures, advise him to take haritaki. There is a type of fruit, a bitter fruit. That's called haritaki. or some other drugs, some other medicines, Ayurvedic medicine, or teach him some process of control of the vital forces, prana. So, in answering my question, Yogananda in his 14th or 15th year asked Ramakrishna how to overcome lust. I want to completely conquer my lust. How to do that? So, to which, in answering my question, continued Yogen, Sri Ramakrishna said, go on repeating the name of Hari and all the lust will vanish. Go on repeating the name of Hari and all the lust will vanish. Go on repeating the name of God. Hari is one who takes away, one who steals away all the pain. Our heart, in our heart, is called Hari or Hara. The same thing, the meaning is the same, Hari, Hara. So the Lord, any Lord, the Guru has given you the mantra. If you go on repeating that with faith and love, then all the lust and everything will vanish. That is what Sri Ramakrishna is telling. Ramakrishna is telling Swami Yogananda in his 14th or 15th year, he wanted to conquer lust completely. So he has come to Ramakrishna, ask him. He thought Ramakrishna will instruct him with so many other Hatha Yoga asanas, pranayama, or some other haritaki, eating some bitter things, and eating some other Ayurvedic medicine, by which he could conquer lust. But Sri Ramakrishna is giving a wonderful solution. He's telling, go on repeating the name of the Lord continuously. Go on repeating the name of the Lord continuously. Harinama Sankirtana. Repeat the name of the Lord. So now the Guru has given you the name of the Lord with the Bija Mantra. Go on repeating that. So Sri Ramakrishna is telling, in answering my question, continued Yogan, the Master Sri Ramakrishna said, go on repeating the name of the Lord, and all the lust and all other bad thoughts will vanish. Nothing will be necessary, nothing more will be necessary. You need not do any other Hatha Yoga and other things to conquer lust. Just go on repeating the name of the Lord. That is more than enough. Ramakrishna instructed Yogen. The Master said, go on repeating the name of the Lord and it will vanish. Nothing more will be necessary. The answer was not at all to my liking. Yogananda is telling, the answer was not at all to my liking. I said to myself, I see, he does not know any process, and that is why he has prescribed to me a useless something. Does lust vanish on repeating the name of Hari? Very many people are doing it. Why does it not vanish in them? That was the question. That was the thought of Yogin at that time, at the age of 14 or 15. He had so much of doubts. He didn't accept Sri Ramakrishna simply. He tested him thoroughly. All the direct disciples tested Sri Ramakrishna thoroughly, and only then they accepted him as the avatar. Do you think they have simply accepted him? They were all highly educated in the Western standards. They put him to crucial test, litmus test, and only after that they were satisfied. Ramakrishna passed all that test, then only they accepted him as his guru or the Ishtadevata. Now Yogananda, when Sri Ramakrishna told, that's more than enough. Just repeat the name of the Lord. That will remove all your lust. Then he started doubting it, the veracity, and he told, so many people are repeating the name of Lord Hari. Have their lust gone away? What has happened to them? So Ramakrishna doesn't know anything about Hatha Yoga and all these exercises, yogas, so he's telling like that. But you do not know Ramakrishna had performed Hatha Yoga completely, and he had reached almost to the level of the end of Hatha Yoga, that is Jada Samadhi. So in the end of the Hatha Yoga, the blood rushes through opens up the Sushumna canal, opens up, and the blood will rush to the Sahasrara. Then they will have Jada Samadhi. It is not the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, this is the ordinary one, the lowest. And they will be just sitting in Jada Samadhi, that's all, like in a state of coma. Ramakrishna was almost attained that end, Jada Samadhi too. But it was the will of the mother that he should survive and do that so much of work. So instead of that Sushumna Nadi going up to the Sahasrara, it opened up in the mouth, and that blood started coming out of his mouth through that curse of Haladari. We all know that, we have studied that. So that is the end of Hatha Yoga. Ramakrishna knew every piece of pranayama, every small bit of Hatha Yoga. He had performed, he has experienced, and he had done everything. He had learned from the sadhus who used to come. He was expert in that too, Hatha Yoga. He was master in Hatha Yoga. But he knew if you do that too much, your body consciousness will increase, your health may become good, but your body, that you are body, not the Atman. The realization of the highest is you have to identify with the Atman. But here, when you go on increasing the longevity, if you go on doing Hatha Yoga, your body consciousness will increase, then you will forget the Lord. You will be always thinking of how to increase the longevity of the body, thinking of the body. You forget the Atman. So God realization will be a far away thing. You will do all the magics, control all the bodily organs, and you forget God. So Ramakrishna used to tell, do Hatha Yoga, Pranayama, and as to such an extent only it will help you keep you healthy, to think of God and meditate on God. Beyond that, it becomes Hatha Yoga. Then it will increase your body consciousness. You will forget, you will get some miraculous powers, so many other powers, and you will be in trouble. So do only to such an extent that it will keep your good health for the sake of realizing God, not for anything else. Otherwise, if you go to Hatha Yoga, that is another branch, it will make you forget God. So Ramakrishna is telling, repeat the name of the Hari, that is more than enough. But Yogananda is having his doubt. Though Ramakrishna was expert in Hatha Yoga, he's thinking he doesn't know anything about Hatha Yoga or Pranayama or all those things, all this Ayurveda. So he's telling me, just repeat the name of the Lord. He had doubts. Wonderful. Entertain the doubt. But that will be cured. What happened? Let us see. In answering my question, continued Yogen, the master said, go on repeating the name of Hari. Go on repeating the name of the Lord. It will vanish. The lust will vanish. Nothing more will be necessary. The answer was not at all to my liking. Yogananda, who was at that time 14 or 15 years, a youth, adolescent youth, so much of doubt, he told, the answer was not at all to my liking. I said to myself, I see, he does not know any process, and that is why of Hatha Yoga or Pranayama, and that is why he is prescribing me a useless something like repeat the name of Hari. Does lust vanish on repeating the name of Hari? Very many people, so many Vaishnavas are doing repeating the name of the Hari. Why does it not vanish in them? Another day I came to Kali temple, and instead of going straight to Sri Ramakrishna, I was standing near the Hatha Yogi at the Panchavati, to that Narayana who was a Hatha Yogi. He was standing there and watching all that special asanas which he was performing at the Panchavati, listening eagerly to his conversation, when I saw Sri Ramakrishna himself coming suddenly there. Ramakrishna could understand. He knew past, future, present, everything. What is happening to the disciples? He was constantly knowing everything. What is happening to his disciple? Where? What? Everything. He is Antaryamin. So immediately he came there. Sri Ramakrishna knew that Yogin has gone there. So he came, Ramakrishna, he saw that while he was standing near the Hatha Yogi's cottage near Panchavati and watching all those asanas, Sri Ramakrishna started coming there. When I saw Sri Ramakrishna himself coming suddenly there, and no sooner had he seen me, then he called me, Yogin, look at me. He took me by the hand to his room. He caught hold of my hand, took me to the room, and said, my dear child, Yogin, why do you go there? Why do you go to the Hatha Yogi? Don't do that again. Your mind will stick only to the body. Your mind will stick only to the body. Your body consciousness will increase. Your mind will stick only to the body if you learn those intense processes of Hatha Yoga. Yeah, you can perform the Hatha Yoga only to the extent that it will keep you good health for the realization of God. It should be used only for the realization of God, not for just perfecting every organs, and then you will forget God. Your body consciousness will increase. The Atman conscious will vanish away. What a practical way of thinking. Why do you go there, Yogen? My dear child, don't do that. Your mind will stick only to the body. If you learn those process of deeper Hatha Yoga, It will not thirst after God. That's very important. It will not thirst after God. Do only that much of Hatha Yoga to keep the asana siddhi, to keep good health, so that you can think of God. Don't go to those intricacies for longevity, long life, and other things. Then it will increase your body consciousness. So, moderation. If you eat too much rice also, it will become poison. If you take too much of amrita also, it will become poison. Moderation. Take as much the body needs for the sake of normal functioning. Minimum, basic minimum. Simple living, high thinking. Do not go too much extremities. Don't become an extremist. Don't become an extremist. No extremities. Lord Krishna also has told, Yukta ahara viharasya yukta chestasva karmasu. All moderation. So Ramakrishna is telling, don't do that. Your mind will stick only to the body. If you learn too much of that, all those things. And why? Why should you not do that too much? Extremes of those things? Then your mind will not thirst for God. Your intensity to call God will be forgotten. You will be concentrating only on your body and muscles. You'll be meditating on your muscles. You'll be meditating on your tendons. But thing that is required to go up is to think of God, to think of Hari. So why should you not go to that extremes of yoga and other things? It will not thirst for God. So thirst for God is important. Devotion to God is important. It will not thirst for God after God. So Yogananda in that age of 14 or 15 still has doubt. I thought Yogananda is telling, is thus speaking to me lest I should give up visiting him. So I thought, I doubted Sri Ramakrishna at that time, thinking that Sri Ramakrishna does not want to lose a disciple like me, so that I may become the disciple of that Hatha Yogi Narayana. So Ramakrishna is jealous of me. So because of the jealousy, he is giving all these instructions. It is not all true. So I will go to that Hatha Yogi. Ramakrishna is jealous that he will lose a disciple like me. So these were all the thoughts Yogananda is explaining. I thought he is thus speaking to me, lest I should give up visiting him. I always had a high notion of my intelligence. Yogananda is telling I had a high notion of about his intelligence. So he doubted Ramakrishna's words that he is jealous of my going to that guru, another guru, Hatha Yoga guru. What a free rein I gave to the intellect, Yogananda is telling. It did not then occur to me that my visit mattered so little to him. It was nothing for Ramakrishna. He didn't want any disciples. He had realized the highest. What does he want? Why does he want anybody to come to him? So Yogananda is himself thinking now. It did not then occur to me that my visit mattered so little to him. Ah, what a roguish and suspicious mind I had. What a roguish, suspicious mind. So many people even now harbor such things. Well and good. But in even spite of that, Ramakrishna will show his grace to you. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need. The river doesn't need the human being like us. The lake doesn't need us. So I will just finish my conversation or my discussion with small incidents from India. Little bit indecent. Even then, that will give the right message. One of a village person was there in Bangalore. At that time, one Swami was transferred away to another place. So those people were very much liking that Swami. So they were not so happy that he has been transferred from that place. So many people stopped coming to ashrama and they would not come there. because of the anger that he was transferred from that place. Then one devotee used to come to this person and ask him and again, see, after that Swami has been transferred, he went away. The devotees have become less. They are not coming to bhajans. Number of people coming to the bhajans, to the lectures have reduced. Yes, what to do? That is all the will of the Lord. But every day, all the time, that person would be repeating again and again the same thing. So finally, after some days, this person was pestered by that another old man telling that, oh, because of that Swami has been transferred, so people are not coming. Again and again he was telling. So he became a little upset and told one word, one sentence, little indecent, he told. You know that in India, in the olden days now, because after Modi's coming, so many toilets have been built everywhere. Millions and millions of toilets have been built for the public. In olden days, it was the habit open defecation. So they used to go open defecation. After going there, so to clean, now in the Western countries, they use the tissue paper. So that tissue paper concept is not there. So it is all going to the lakes and ponds, or that they carry water. So while this person is explaining, what did he explain? Suppose somebody has gone to open defecation early in the morning. Now he has to go to the lake or the pond for cleaning. Now that person somehow, for some reason, has got angry on that lake or pond or water. He's angry on that water. So he's scolding the water or the lake and telling, I'm angry on you, I'm not going to come to you. Then this person told that other person, if those people are angry on Sri Ramakrishna or on the ashrama, Ramakrishna ashrama, because that Swami was transferred and they do not come, whose back will dry up? So it is not a loss to the water, it is a loss to the person who gets angry and doesn't go away. So if somebody gets angry on God, if somebody gets angry on Ramakrishna, telling that and telling, I'm not going to come in here, who is the loser? Suppose in the Western modern standard, if you get angry on the tissue paper after defecation, who is the loser? The Lord is not the loser. Ramakrishna is not the loser. So likewise, now Yogananda is thinking, though Ramakrishna doesn't need him, he doesn't want anybody of us, but it is out of pure love, even though Yogananda harbored such roguish feeling, doubts, and all this thing, thinking that Ramakrishna is jealous because he will go to another guru. No, it was out of love that Ramakrishna was telling him. And his its experience, he has undergone all the Hatha Yoga and everything. In spite of that, this 14 or 15 years old Yogananda at that time entertained such roguish, he's telling, entertained such doubts on Ramakrishna. So, what a loss. So Ramakrishna is telling, no need of all those things. It will make you forget God. Repeat the name of the Hari. That is more than enough. You will get everything. You can conquer anything by repeating the name of the Lord. Whatever the Guru mantra has been given, have faith in it. Do it. Okay, we will see the next thing afterwards. So if you get angry, if you get jealous, if you get things, you can remember this particular incidents, then you will see, you will not get angry on God for silly things. Then you will not get harbor doubts on God. So remember the tissue paper. Okay. Om. Now it's the time, I think I have overstepped my time. Even then, we will give some 2-3 minutes for question and answers. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Do you have any questions? I think there are no questions, so we can conclude with the prayer. ॐ प्रियतां पुण्डरीकाक्षः सर्वयज्ञेश्वरो हरिः तस्मिन् तुष्टे जगत्तुष्टं प्रीणिते प्रीणितं जगत् हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।